Hi everybody, we're going to be taking notes from the 7th grade as well as the 8th grade Common Core on volume. You need to be familiar with formulas. These 5 formulas, prism, cylinder, pyramid, cone, and sphere. You also need to make sure that you're labeling volume correctly by using units cubed. And for 3D figures, there's cubed, where 2D figures for area is squared. So that's one way I like to remember it. We will be applying these, but today's notes are simply about identifying parts of the figure, being able to go ahead and identifying what formula to use, and then going ahead and evaluating that formula. So the first figure that you'll be expected to do in number 1, you have to identify the figure first. Once you have identified the figure, then you can go ahead and match it with a formula. Once you've matched it with a formula, identify parts of the figure in order to complete the formula. So I'm going to identify that this is a prism. The prism formula for volume is the base times the height. The base is big because it's talking about the area of the base. Once I've done that, I need to identify what the base is. This base is a square, and therefore I can use the formula for a rectangle. So I'm going to be multiplying the area of the base with its length times width and multiplying it by the height. I then go ahead and identify that the length of the square is 6 inches by 6 inches, and then this height isn't listed here, so let's do that quickly, and let's call it 10 inches. And then the height is 10 inches. And therefore volume is 360 inches cubed. That means 360 cubic inches can fit inside this rectangular prism. In example 2, I'm going to identify that this is also a prism, but my base is a triangle. So I have to find the area of the triangle and then multiply it by the height. So my volume is big base times height, and my base is triangle, so I have to do 1/2 base times height. I'm going to multiply that by the height. Okay. So I therefore know that my base is 4 and my height is 3 because it's indicated. Height is indicated using the right angle indicator. So I have 1/2 times 3 times 4, and all of that is times 15. This is a calculator unit, so make sure you're checking your calculations. So I have 1/2 of 12 is 6. 6 times 15 is 90. So my volume is 90 centimeters cubed. In example 3, this is a prism. This base is, it's a pyramid. 1/3 base times height. I have to identify the base. The base is a rectangle. Therefore, it's 1/3 length times width times height, and then I know that length is 3, width is 2, or vice versa, and a height is 4. Now, as you indicated height on examples 1 and 2, it's straight up and down. There is not, you're not using the slant height for number 3, you're using the actual height from the base to the tip of the pyramid. So I have 8 centimeters cubed, and I did that 6 times 4 is 24, 1/3 of 24 is 8 centimeters cubed. All right, we're here at a cylinder, and my formula for cylinder is base times height. The base area represents the base of this cylinder, which is a circle, and I need to know that pi r squared is my area of my circle, and then my height is my regular height. I therefore go ahead and I plug in 3.14 times my radius. They gave me the diameter, so you need to make sure you cut it in half. Watch out for that. So that's 4 squared times 20. And for this one, I'm definitely going to go ahead and use my calculator. So I have 3.14 times 16 times 20, and I get this ridiculous number of 1,004.8 yards cubed. So to look out for with the cylinder volume, the base is a circle, so you find pi r squared and then multiply it by height. So anytime you're finding volume, you're finding that base area and then you're just building up on it. So that's why you multiply it by the height for all the layers of the height. All right, we have a cone. So my volume for a cone is 1/3 base times height. I identify what the base is, and in this case, it's a circle. So volume equals 1/3 pi r squared times the height. Now, they've given you the diameter. You have to make sure you know the radius. So I have 1/3 times 3.14 times 5 squared times 20. Now, as you notice, I'm using 3.14 for pi. If they don't indicate anything else, please use 3.14. As you notice, I've written the formula. I've written the version of the formula that I need to understand in terms of the base area. And then I've evaluated the formula by replacing each variable for a value. And then I made sure I have my answer here. So I have 3.14 times 25 times 20. And then I'm going to divide that by 3 or multiply by 1/3. And I get kind of a ridiculous number. So this is an approximate 523.3 inches cubed. Okay. If I wanted to be exact, because this is a repeating decimal, I write 523 1/3 inches cubed. But because I estimated with pi, it's kind of irrelevant. The last one, this is a formula that you're going to need to make sure you know. So this is a sphere, and it's 4/3 times pi times radius cubed. So they gave me diameter. I need radius. 4/3 times 3.14 times 4 cubed. So sphere formula. I've gone ahead and plugged in 3.14 for pi. I've identified the radius by taking the diameter in half. So now I have 4 times 3.14 times 4 times 4 times 4. And then at the end, I divide by 3 rather than multiplying by 4/3, so I don't have to use my fraction button. And I get an approximate version of 267.9 centimeters cubed. Okay. As we look back at these 6 examples, you've written your formula, you've written the formula with whatever the base is, and then you've gone ahead and evaluated the numbers, and you've included units as cubic units. So, as we've taken these notes, you should have been starting and stopping. If you don't understand where one part is, that's where you're writing a question on the side. So tomorrow when we're coming in, I'm expecting you to be able to go ahead and evaluate some of these formulas and to be able to go ahead and say, oh, look, it's the height. It's not the slant height for number 5 and number 3. So for pyramids, you're not looking at the slant height. You're actually looking at the bottom, from the bottom of the base straight up to the tip. Make sure you know these formulas and make sure you're showing your work. All right, send me an email or write down some questions if you have any issues. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.